Hello. Oh, there we go. Hello. What's up, weirdos? How are you doing? Happy Tuesday. How's everyone doing? What's up? What's up? Oh, I've had such a busy day today. So I had work, which is normal. And then Lauren and I recorded a podcast episode. We're trying to record a lot more over the next couple weeks so we can get kind of ahead, because we're usually always just going week to week, and I have school starting in a few weeks and she has some travel coming up, and we were like, we should do a few episodes in advance. So we did an episode today, and I did Skywalker Ranch, which is in Utah, and it's a huge paranormal and UFO hotspot, and it was very interesting to research. So I did that right after work, and now I am here. So let me also just go ahead and tweet, etc., that I am live. But yeah, how's everyone doing? How's your week been? I see Mark, Steven, 8-Bit Horse. Yes, we're ready for that blood, red blood. We have William, we have Larry. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to tell you. Oh, so you might notice. Oh my gosh, Dakotes, thank you for your club dues. Happy Halloween. Honestly, I've been seeing some fall stuff. I know it's 100 degrees here, so I know that's ridiculous, but I've been seeing places are starting to put out their fall stuff, and it is thrilling beyond thrilling. All right, I have tweeted, but anyways. So yeah, you might have noticed that I updated the schedule a little bit. It's on Twitter, and it's also on my community page here on my channel. But what I've done is, so basically I wanted to have a few guests this month. So we have Ken from Sledgehammer Horror. He's coming on next week. Then we have Xena from Real Queen of Horror. And then we're doing a Friday night horror movie club on the 27th. And that's with Emma at Spooky Astronauts. And we're doing that because Tuesday nights don't work for her, and also there's the crazy time difference. So we just had to pick a time that worked in her schedule. So instead of turning the Tuesday into the Friday, I was like, maybe what we do is just have an extra this month, which I know is crazy. But then I thought, okay, great. If we finish these out on this Friday, and then the last Tuesday of the month, we can talk about Blood and Black Lace, the original Giallo, and Knife and Heart, kind of one of the newest interpretations of Giallo, on that last Tuesday of the month. I know it's crazy. That means, we're literally talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies this month, basically. But Giallo is so huge. It's just it's I'm missing a nail too. Wait, where is it? Here it is. But yeah, it's just so huge, and there were so many movies I wanted to watch. We had that whole conversation about not having a Bava in there, Mario Bava. And so I was just let's just do it up end of summer. Especially because, I know things are going to get crazier as the fall comes on, and, we might have to skip a week or something. I don't know. Whatever the reasonings are. We have a lot more movies to watch, but I'm really excited about it. I feel like we're going to be so well-versed in Giallo by the end of this. But, yeah. Okay. Oh, my gosh. Hello. What is up? Is that Ryan? Hi. If I'm looking at you, I actually don't recognize the username, but I think I recognize the picture. Mud Nelson. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Tenebrae is my favorite Argento movie. Very nice. This is our second Argento of the month, the third Argento I have seen in life. And it's been very interesting, but we're going to get to it. Okay, so before we hop in to Tenebrae, let's go ahead and say our recommendations for the week. So I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram, but I got 2 VHSs in the mail yesterday. I guess I could show you. Let me show you real quick. I'm literally in bed. Okay. So I got Psycho 2, which is cool. And it's funny, I actually got this by accident. I was in my brain for some reason, I thought Psycho 2 was the one that Anthony Perkins directed, but that's actually Psycho 3. So I kind of just got this accidentally, but it's basically Norman Bates coming, it's empty because it's in the player. Norman Bates coming back to the house after 22 years, after being released from prison / institution situation and all that. But I watched it last night and I loved it. I thought it was really interesting. It was very just like lots of twists and turns, things I wouldn't have expected plot wise. Anthony Perkins is great. I loved it. And then I also got one of my favorite movies, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And I'm obsessed with this because first of all, you have this broken doll on the front right here. And then it says, "Sister, sister, oh so fair. Why is there blood all over your hair?" Like, ominous, spooky. Freaking love it. And then on the back, it has Betty Davis holding this like creepy doll. It's amazing. Yes, so let me know in the chat what you've been watching. What have you been watching this week? Anything of interest, please let me know. Let's see. 8-Bit Horse. Favorite Argento is Phenomena. Yeah, that's a really good one. Actually, I have seen that one too, so I guess this is my 4th Argento. I forgot about that one. But yes. Mark says, I guess you're talking about Tenebrae. This one's much slower than Deep Red and highly recommended. Blood Red Sky. I saw a little bit about that movie. And Boy Behind the Door. Yes. Let's see. Oh, Psycho 2 was written by Tom Holland, who directed Child's Play. That's amazing. I had no idea. Bates Motel TV show. Yes, I watched the first season like a long time ago, years ago, but I never actually finished watching the show. I should really go back. 8-Bit Horse watched Christmas Evil. It seems a little early to be watching a Christmas horror movie, but yay for you. That's fun. Dakotes saw The Green Knight this weekend. What did you think? I did a Patreon video about The Green Knight, but barely anyone has watched it. I think only Mark watched it. But if anyone else is my patron, I also have a great embarrassing story in there of like something ridiculous that happened to me at the movie theater. But anyways, Patreon, link down below. Let's see. And hello, Michael. Hello, I'm so glad you're here. You guys are awesome. So happy to see you all. Boop, boop, a doop. All right. I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer last night. Nice, Katie. Such a good one. Such a good. I want to watch that right now too. Like such a good like summer classic. Freaking so good. But yes. Scrolling. Making sure I didn't miss anything importante. Michael saw False Positive. Nice, on Hulu, I'm assuming. But yes, what did you think of that ending? Like, don't be doing spoilers in the chat, but the ending of False Positive makes that whole movie worth watching. It's so dark and strange. It's like, it's crazy. It's totally worth it. Man, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like visually, like my brain is just having that last image of that movie in my head right now, and I can't look away. Okay. Okay, Dakota, you should join my Patreon if you want. We have a Discord. I put up some videos. We do a monthly movie hang. It's good stuff. Oh, watch this now. You watch The Empty Man. It's so good. I want to watch it again, actually. I loved it. That is a freaking cool movie. And it's getting a little bit of hype now. Like, I'm seeing on Twitter, people are talking about it, so that's cool. Tom, hello. How are you doing? Let us know if you watched anything this week. Let us know. Hello, world-class Satanist. Happy to see you. No way. Lobkey Vision Film says Jennifer Tilly's sister stars in Psycho 2 and she does not have anything nice to say about it. Is she the daughter who like lives with Norman Bates? Let me just look. I'm gonna go to the IMDb real quick. Psycho 2. Meg Tilly. Oh my gosh. Oh no, what did she say about it? I feel terrible. I'm so sad she had a bad time. I didn't even know that she had a sister that was an actress. That's super crazy. Now I'm just trying to look on these. If you have the hot goss, please put in the chat. Because I don't have... I can't just sit here in silence and scroll through all the internet stuff right now. But I can definitely look it up later. Oh, yay! Okay, 8-Bit Horse also watched Empty Man. Yes, it's on HBO Max right now. That's awesome. Everyone's checking it out. That movie is freaking amazing, so please watch it. Okay. Whew, it's 8:15. I have my bubbly, not a White Claw today. Let's go ahead and talk about Tenebrae. Let me get the IMDb up. Let me get the Wikipedia up. We should be good to go. Okay. So, Tenebrae is a 1982 giallo by Dario Argento. So, we're quite a few years ahead now from our last film. And it's a fun concept. And what's funny is when I started watching this yesterday, I thought I had not seen this movie, and then I started watching it and I realized I had fallen asleep to this movie once. like over a year ago. I feel like I started watching it one night and then I fell asleep and I've never finished it. So the beginning I was like, this all seems very familiar to me, and then like at a certain point I was like, oh, this must have been when I fell asleep because I don't remember anything past this. But it's a cool story. So an American writer is in Rome and he is stalked and harassed by a serial killer who is murdering everyone associated with his work on his latest book. It's very exciting. What's funny is, so whenever there's like a horror movie or horror novel about a writer, I'm always like Stephen King. I'm like Mouth of Madness. Like I started thinking about these other, like, what are the Stephen Kings? Like Misery is about a writer. There's other ones he has. But it's just kind of interesting, like the idea of a horror author, someone that's writing grim and gruesome things, starting to experience grim and gruesome things in life is very interesting. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Travis and I are going to watch the new Suicide Squad. We're really excited. Probably not tonight, but some night this week we're going to watch it. Sorry, I know. I was like all into Giallo and now I'm like Suicide Squad. But I am very intrigued to see it. Okay, sorry. So, this one was written and directed by Argento. And it kind of... So, Suspiria, you guys talked about Inferno, even some things about Deep Red. There are some giallos that have a bit more a supernatural tinge to them, and it seems that a lot of Argentos do have that. this one really doesn't. It seems to be a much more straightforward giallo, much more just murder mystery, with some gruesome deaths and such like that. But I actually took some notes on this one, not in here, because when I was watching it, I started, because my sort of goal, my goal this month as we watch this giallos is trying to understand what is typical of giallos and what is typical of like each director's work. So, for example, I'm starting to just notice from Tenebrae, like, we're getting some things repeated in his work that I think is interesting. First of all, obviously murdering women. It's a lot of female deaths and a lot of sexualizing of women, which is something like I had never, because I've seen Suspiria many times. And I didn't even think about that much with Deep Red, but it was kind of the first thing that came up for me when watching this movie. And tell me guys what you think about this. Because I'm not like I'm not a horror channel that's trying to put everything through the lens of feminism, but it's just something that I noticed. In this one, there's just a lot more sexual imagery associated with women, like stuffing the paper in that girl's mouth while she's being killed. The same girl, when she's like flirting with that guy she shoplifted from, like using her sexuality like very overtly. The girl who basically is like gets naked on the beach, which is kind of, we'll talk about the plot more in a minute. Gets naked on the beach, I guess to like have sex with like all of these men. It's just like, it seems so much more overt in this film. 8-Bit Horse says that Tenebrae is very nipple heavy. Yes, like it definitely has a lot more of that in this. And I wonder, because there were some other things that happened that I noticed in this film, that I wondered if Argento started to be a little bit more inspired by like American films. Because like when I'm thinking about the early 80s, in American horror films, we're definitely seeing a lot of boobs, right? Like boobs and blood, like that's the thing, that's the selling point. And you see that a lot more in this one, I think. And then there was some other things I noticed that might also have come from American cinema. This is just a guess. This is a guess. Scary phone calls. This was, did you notice that there's that phone call where the spooky voice? And we hear the spooky voice a few times. But that I kind of noticed. I wondered if that was kind of like I don't know, reminds me of like Black Christmas and stuff. And then something else I just wrote down is there's another gay couple in this movie. There's a gay couple in Deep Red as well. And in this one we have a lesbian couple, which I just thought was kind of nice, like, and kind of progressive for the 80s, because it wasn't necessarily about the fact that they were gay, but we just kind of knew that they were, and I thought that was interesting. Just something I noted. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat too. Watch This Now says, watch out, the New York Ripper is very hypersexualized. And that's not, I mean, like, that's fine. Like, I also, like, I expect that with this decade or 2 decades of movies. It's not that I'm, like, against sex in horror films or or even like the sexualization of women in these films. It's just typical. It's just like what it is. But it's just something that I thought was interesting that I was noticing more in this film than some of other of his work. Like, I think the thing I'm trying to actually say is this movie felt more angry towards women than the other ones he's made. If that makes sense. Like, this one, there's so much anger about this woman that the author, like, killed in his youth. There's so much anger there, and there's so much anger in the murders. I don't know. Something I'm thinking about. Okay. Let's go through a little bit of plot stuff now, because that was just sort of my general like overview stuff that like I was thinking about. So this one's about Peter Neal is the writer, and he writes these very violent horror novels. And he's even asked, sorry, I'm gonna keep going back to this. He's even asked by someone in the film like why he hates women so much, and he's like, what? Like, I don't hate women. And he's like, and she's like, well, then why do you write these things about killing women? And I wonder if Argento was like getting those kinds of questions, and that's why he put that in the movie. I don't know. But so he is coming to Rome to promote his new book, Tenebrae. And so when I was Googling Tenebrae, I didn't realize that was actually like a term. So it's actually a religious service, and I don't know, like, obviously we don't know the plot of his novel within the movie, but I just want to say that this is an actual thing. It's let's see, it's a religious ceremony in Western Christianity, and it's held 3 days before Easter, and it's got lots of candles. I don't really know what it's for. It's a celebration of the last 3 days of Holy Week. Okay, I guess that's what it is. I'm sure there's more history behind it, but it is already a thing that existed, so I didn't know that. Fun little fun. So he gets there, and he has kind of this ex-fiance, Jane, who he has this bad relationship with. She apparently has vandalized his suitcase in JFK airport, and followed him to Rome. So that's like kind of the first big thing. And then we see that there is already a killer on the loose in Rome. And that's where we see the shoplifter that I mentioned earlier, where she shoplifts, she gets caught, she kind of flirts with the guy, she gets her way out of it, she goes home, and then she is murdered. And she is murdered with a razor, and then the pages of Tenebrae, which is the novel she was stealing from the store, are stuffed into her mouth. So very strange. So we already had this connection between his writing and his violent writing and the violent crimes going on, and that's something else we see because we talked about in The Mouth of Madness, a few months ago, whenever that was. And that's another question in that movie. It's like, does like making horror content equate to more violence in the real world? Interesting. Hope not. Because that's all I do here. Yeah, so she dies, and then we do start getting the flashes of the man with the woman on the beach that I already mentioned. But trying to skip to like important stuff. Oh, something else I noticed in this is that this movie, because something we talked about last week with Deep Red, is that it was much more imagery focused and much more like it's all about the style and aesthetics, and the plot kind of took a back seat to that. In this movie, I didn't really feel that way. I felt like the plot was more heavy and the imagery was much more of the everyday. Like, we still have some deaths that are pretty like striking, but it definitely, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but it definitely wasn't as like art stylized as the other Argento stuff I've seen. Like, this one felt much more I guess, I don't know how to say other than of the everyday. Like, it didn't seem to have that kind of operatic feel to it that we talked about last week, which is interesting. I'm just looking through the chat. Oh my gosh, Gary, hello, you've met Argento? Well, if you have anything you could tell us, please put it in the chat. Literally anything. We're interested. How did that interaction go? But that's very awesome. Okay, so blah blah blah. So Peter Neal, he's trying to do the stuff with his book, and then people start questioning him about these deaths that are happening. And we start seeing these killers. We start seeing these murders with an axe. And that starts to be like the weapon of choice. Like, we see the razor early on, and then we start to see this axe a lot. Which is like, it's fine. I know a few of you already said that this is your favorite Argento. But for me, I thought it was kind of less fun because I was still kind of expecting those wild and crazy deaths that we got in Deep Red, with the decapitation by necklace, the squished head, the kind of woman hanging out the window in this beautiful way. Like, I was expecting kind of those kinds of deaths. And in this one, we have much more kind of slasher style deaths. And that's kind of in general. And once again, this is me like wondering if Argento was having more American influence at this point in the 80s, because a lot of it seemed much more like general slasher movie axings and less like beautiful stylized death scenes, if that makes sense. Hello, Martin. How are you? Thanks for making it. I know you're busy these days, so I appreciate you being here. Boop, boop, doop. You guys are awesome. So glad you're here. So yeah. And then at this point, so we also have this detective who is, his name I just like can't remember right now. Dang it. Oh, it's Detective Germani. And so he's talking to Peter Neal. He's trying to get this case uncovered, and as more and more deaths happen. Now we're going to pause for a hot second and talk a little bit about the cast. Like, of course, I don't know a lot of them because a lot of them are Italian, but we do have a couple of Americans in here. First of all, I'm sure you all noticed we have John Saxon in this movie. And I did not expect that. He's a horror movie favorite. He's in Nightmare on Elm Street, in Black Christmas. Like, he had already kind of done, I'm trying to think about the years, actually. I know Black Christmas obviously was before this. When was Nightmare on Elm Street? 1984. So that was the year. So that was actually after this. But it is cool that they got someone that already had this kind of American horror movie experience coming over to do this movie. And then we have Anthony Franciosa. I think that's how you say it. But he is another American actor from New York. He plays our main dude, Peter Neal. And he's been in a million bajillion things. But it does look like he's kind of most famous for this movie. But if you guys know better than I, please tell me in the chat if there's some other horror things that he's known for. Okay. Boop, boop, doop. Okay. So, I'm going to kind of skip ahead because now we're just going to deal with some plot things. But some people have, Peter has sex with Anne, things happen, people die. But I do want to talk about Jane again for a second. So Jane is the ex-fiance who kind of disappears for a chunk of the movie, and like you kind of forget about her. But then she comes back because she's followed him to Rome, and she gets this present, like a secret admirer present of these red shoes. And this is a little bit more of that stylistic giallo thing. They're these bright red shoes, the color of the giallo signature blood. And we see the girl at the seaside wearing them when she gets murdered by our unknown assailant. So we see that. And then we see Jane get those same shoes as a present. So we have that kind of going on, and we're like, ooh, like what's going on there? And then I don't even remember all of these characters. So I know I'm like skipping stuff, but like it's because I don't really know all these characters super well. Because I know we have I was gonna talk about Gianni, but like I don't even really know who he is. Like I know he comes into the plot and then he sees someone saying, or he hears someone saying, "I killed them all," and then he gets killed. But I actually don't know what his significance is in the plot necessarily. Sorry. And then I obviously don't know this movie super well plot wise, but she's trying. Okay. All right. The next thing I guess we need to know is that Gianni goes in Birdie's house. I know I haven't even told you who that is, but I don't even know if I know. And when he's there, he puts together that there are actually 2 murderers. Okay. So that's kind of the twist that this movie is leaning towards. Oh yes, we definitely need to talk about that. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Well, let me just finish out the movie and then we'll come back and talk about some of the attacks. Because we definitely have to talk about that dog. Let me just finish out the general plot though. So he realizes that there are 2 murderers, and then he is killed in his car. Once again, we're gonna get to all these deaths, and then we go back to Jane. Okay, so Jane is freaking out. She calls Anne to come to her apartment. An axe comes in. We'll talk about this death later. And then basically we find out that one of the killers has already been killed, but the second killer is Peter Neal himself. And this is an interesting thing because it makes you wonder, and they even question this in the movie, whether his violent past as a teenager when he killed that girl by the beach, if that led to him writing a lot of violent deaths against women. I don't know. And then leading him ultimately to kill again in his adult years. And maybe before that, we don't really know. So we find that out. And the last sequence of the movie is really, really fun. So I'm going to save that and we'll come back when we talk about we're just going to kind of go through as many of the fun deaths as we want to talk about. So this one is fun. It's definitely murder mystery. It has a lot of twists, similar to the Deep Red, where it's like who you think it is not who it is. And this one, it's kind of like, oh, it might be who you think it is, but it's also someone else too. And I thought that was pretty effective, honestly. Okay, so now, even though I'm going to say overall, the deaths in Tenebrae are not as exciting to me as in Deep Red, I still think it'll be worth going through. List of deaths. Here we go. Where is it? Oh! This website lied to me. I thought it had a list of deaths. Hold on, let me try to find one. Just so I don't have to go back through the entire plot. Haha. Okay, I got it. Boom. Okay. Alright, so, as we already discussed, the first death of the movie is, I think, one of the most interesting to look at, and that is the woman whose throat is slit and the pages of Tenebrae are stuffed in her mouth. Fun. The next one we have is Tilde, whose, once again, throat is slit, and then Marion, throat is slit, all these straight razor deaths, and these, first three, other than the mouth stuffing, they start to get a little repetitive for me. Like they don't seem to have a lot of thought put into them. Maybe the thought is the weapon, so we can differentiate the killers later on, which is fine, but they just don't seem as like spectacular. Like, yes, we have the same deep blood color, but it's just not as like, I don't know, visually, oh, actually, as Martin just said, visually striking. Yes, I love that too, Martin. It's interesting dynamic to have two killers that aren't working together at all. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, so after that, we have this amazing dog death. So this character, Maria, she is chased by this dog for a very long chase scene, over bushes, over walls. It's crazy town. And then we have this whole attack scene where you're just like, oh my god, like a murderer is not going to kill this girl. This dog is randomly going to kill this girl. And he pulls some moves. Like, he is jumping around. I don't know if they used a real dog. I don't know anything about it, but it is so crazy to look at, and it's like a little like almost silly at a certain point because it just goes on for so long. And this dog just like it does not slow down. It does not get tired. It is just out of control. And so she has that going on. And then after she's tried so hard, she ends up getting into this house and finding some evidence, and then she gets the very first axe to the chest. So now we've changed weapons, okay? Then our next character, we have this Cristiano axed, Agent Bulmer stabbed. Then Gianni is the next death that I found, just a little bit more interesting. It's after he goes back to the house. He finds out there's two killers. He gets back in his car, and then he gets the rope around the neck from the back seat, which also we've seen in a lot of horror movies. My first thought is urban legend from the 90s, but in a lot of other things. And that's kind of, literally also just an urban legend of someone being in the back of your car and like choking you from behind. So that's a fun one. And then we have Jane, the ex-fiance, and her death, like, I wanted to save because it's also just outrageous. So an axe comes through the window and chops her arm clean off. It's like sitting on a table, chops her arm clean off. And then for the rest of the movie, people, there is a unbloodied fake arm sitting on the kitchen table for the rest of the movie. And it looks terrible. Like, am I crazy? I thought it looked terrible. And it was so funny to me because everything else in this movie like feels pretty polished, and then just this really fake arm on the table. But that hand chop, and yes, thank you, Even Horse. So he chops her hand off, and then she goes like, this is another, like, this felt Giallo to me. This felt Argento to me. She takes her stub and sprays it in like a rainbow pattern on the wall with so much blood. It just seems impossible. But it's just like, like it's a dance move of blood. Looks great. And then, after that happens, she is then axed in the chest repeatedly in the kitchen. So then we have another cop or inspector. He is killed with an axe. And then now we can talk about kind of this last sequence of the movie. So when the officer, wait, hold on, let me make sure I have the right names. Yes, Germani. Okay. So when the officer comes in, he's like, oh my God, Peter Neal, you are the killer. He's like, oh my God, this is crazy. And also we have Anne there too, who is like also totally freaking out and like screaming. And at first she like waits in the car, I think, or something. But he comes in and he's like, I'm going to arrest you, right? Basically, like it's all going crazy. It's a big wild scene. And then Peter Neal takes a razor, which we saw earlier in the movie, used by a different killer. Okay. And supposedly slits his throat, falls to the ground as though he's dead. Oh no. And then, so Giamatti, he, like, goes outside or something, he comes back in, and then he sees that Neal is gone, and that it was a fake razor blade. Which is so interesting, because the original killer, Cristiano Berti, see, I didn't even realize that was Bertie. She's learning as she goes along. So the first 3 kills in the movie were actually, the first 3 or 4 kills, I'm not super clear, are Cristiano Berti, and his signature is the razor, and then Peter Neal's signature is the axe, and then Peter uses a fake razor as his death weapon, which maybe should have clued us that it was fake, but it would never have clued me. I thought that was very surprising, but just very interesting. And then we have an amazing shot of like the detective, and you can see Peter right behind him, and he gets axed in the shoulder. And then maybe my favorite death of the movie, I'm pretty sure, Anne, she is running, she hears some noises, she thinks Peter Neal's already dead, she runs in, she knocks over this giant, ridiculous metal sculpture, and it impales Peter Neal in the gut, into the wall, and he can't get it out. And I feel like we've seen that kind of thing in movies before, but it is just amazing. Taste Apenor says, taste the rainbow. That's super funny. Yeah. Very interesting. Death by art. Absolutely. And so thus, like in this movie, I feel like a couple of the deaths, such as the sculpture death, such as the book pages stuffed in her mouth, we have a couple that feel more that kind of like stylized artistic deaths. But then the rest of them, to me, as I already sort of said, but I'm just going to keep repeating myself, feel like American slasher deaths, which I just think is interesting. The cord, the axe, the razor, the spooky phone calls. I don't know. Not the dog. I don't know what the dog is about. That's just an Argento fun thing to do, I guess. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and try to pull up some hot facts for you, if I can. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me just scroll through the Wikipedia page, too, because... Oh, yes. Okay, so, Tenebrae did pretty well in Italy. Goblin, once again, did the music, or, like, coming back to a lot of that stuff we talked about last week. But it was also in the UK added to the list of, dun-dun-dun-dun, video nasties that were banned until 1999. So that's fun. Maybe Deep Red was too, I don't even know. But it's just noted on this Wikipedia page. I did a podcast episode on Sinister Sisters on the history of video nasties a few weeks ago. So if you want to hear about that, you can go check it out on the pod. But it's interesting. And so it was released in the US under a different title, which we've heard this kind of happened a lot. I only heard that from Joe Bob. But the titles a lot have changed when they came over to the US to make them more marketable. So it was called Unsane and didn't really do very well. But then eventually the original was more widely released. I don't know if through VHS or what. But now a lot of people say it's one of Argento's best films, including a lot of you in the chat. So that's very interesting. Now I'm looking at this Wikipedia, and I really should have read it because they have all of these sections of analysis. Do you think it's very fun? Interesting. There's a section on here called Dark Doubles, and it says Tenebrae is filled with rhyming imagery that relates to the film's exploration of the dual nature of two active murderers. So there's a lot of doubles, inversions, reflections, reflections. Very interesting. And they said that that theme extends to locations, actions, objects, events, major and minor. There's a lot of doubling. Sometimes literally things side by side. It mentions the typewriter here, which we have, if you guys remember, Peter Neal has a typewriter in his hotel room, and then that girl brings him another one. So he's got two typewriters. And there's apparently other instances like that in the movie, where there's just a lot of things like doubled out. So that's kind of fun. I would have to like watch for that when I watched it, or else I probably would never notice it, obviously because I didn't, but it is interesting. Let's see. They do talk about the sexuality in this one, as in many of Argento films, which tend to eroticize the murder of beautiful women. Gender, sexuality, and power are major issues foregrounded by the film. Yep. Definitely talked about that. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna find you some hot facts, and if you all want to go ahead and start saying your favorite death scene, because in this one there are a lot to choose from, go ahead and put it in the chat. Ooh, there might be some good ones for this one. Okay. I'm also scrolling in the chat. Yes, hot facts are fun facts. Thank you for the note. Did anyone see Argento's edit of Dawn of the Dead with the Goblin soundtrack? No? How do I watch that? I've never seen that. Yes, there's a lot of Sinister Sisters episodes right now. Go check them out. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the chat to answer everything before I start reading facts. Ooh, interesting. Martin says some dialogue is even doubled. Like when Daria Nicolodi's character is talking to herself and then says basically the same thing to Neil. Interesting. Okay, so Michael says the first kill. Martin says the pages with the book. So yeah, the first kill. 8-Bit Horse said the dog death sequence, just the whole sequence. It is long and it is exciting. It's very exciting. Let's see. Mark says first death scene. Very nice, very nice. Okay, I'll read more of them after this. Okay, so reportedly, this movie was inspired by when Dario Argento was actually stalked by a fan in real life, which is very interesting. Like maybe he was putting himself into Peter Neal a little bit, which is scary but interesting. The word Tenebrae itself, so it seems that they clearly didn't take from the Christian meaning of Tenebrae, but the word in Latin or in Italian means darkness or shadows. Very cool. The girl with the red shoes in the flashback was played by a transgender actor. Wow. That's really interesting. I'm going to try to look that up really quick. Oh. No, that took me to a video. I wonder if I can find some information on that. That's very, I mean, that's very cool. Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like on the IMDb, Eva Roberts. Oh, actually, she was in some other movies, some other Italian films. So this seems to be what she's definitely most famous for. But yeah, that's freaking cool that like there was like a Italian transgender actress working in the 80s in Italy playing female roles. Like, that's pretty wild, right? That's amazing. That's very cool to hear. That's a really good fun fact. Or as we say here, hot facts or hot takes. I don't know. No, for hot facts. Let's see. The well-known Italian giallo and horror directors Michele Soavi and Lamberto Bava, who is the son of Mario Bava, both appear in this film. Cool. And then also on this trivia page, which I've never really seen this, it says director trademark. And it has black leather gloves, which of course we see in this movie, very giallo, I forgot to mention them. Murder victim crashing through a window. We do see that in a lot of Argento films. That's definitely true. And this is interesting. A director trademark of Argento's is vivid memory, characters recalling clues from the murder case in their own memory, which is true. Deep Red, he remembers the painting and he realizes it was actually a mirror of another painting. And then in this one, yeah, it's a memory as well that, like, solves the crime. It's like they already know, but they haven't put it together yet. That's very interesting. That's very cool. Yeah, surprise trans representation. Very exciting. I mean, that's so cool. I mean, I'm really thinking about that right now. What a cool thing. Oh, and thank you for this little bit. 8-Bit Horror says, Eva Robbins, born 1958, is a transgender Italian actress, model, and activist from Bologna, Italy. Perhaps best known for her role in Dario Argento's 1982 Tenebrae. So cool. So cool. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's almost 9 o'clock. And this is, Quentin Tarantino, last hot fact. I'm going to try to keep remembering to say that if I can. Quentin Tarantino has called the murder of Jane via Axe his favorite on-screen death of all time because of the intense imagery, including the moment where she paints the wall with blood, which is definitely one of our faves. And I know I didn't mention my favorite death scene, but I think it's not really, I'll just say gore moment. I think it really is that blood spray. I think it's just really, really interesting and very cool. And very bloody. The reddest blood and the hottest facts. That should be like my tagline. I mean, I know you made it up though, so I feel like I can't steal it. If you tweet it though, I'll retweet it. because I think that's really funny. The reddest blood and the hottest facts horror movie club. Cool. All right, so we're about to start wrapping up here. So once again, to people who came late today, we did update the schedule a little bit, and we actually added a day. Crazy town. So next week we're talking about the New York Ripper, and we're talking about that with Ken, who I did an interview with on his channel, Sledgehammer Horror. The 24th, we're doing The Bird with Crystal Plumage. I'll never be able to say that word. With Real Queen of Horror, Xena. And then on the 27th, which is that Friday at 10 p.m., we're going to have Emma from Spooky Astronauts, because that's the best time for her out in Australia. We're going to be talking about A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, which, like, I'm thrilled by that title still. I'm so excited to see what that movie is. And then on the 31st, the last Tuesday, we're going to have a wrap-up of the month and talk about Blood and Black Lace, and so the original Giallo, and Knife and Heart, the newest, maybe not newest, but pretty newest look at a Giallo in a modern setting. So I think that'll be really, really fun. It's a lot of movies to watch, so obviously if you don't get to all of them, it's chill. But I'm really, really excited. Yeah, it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really good. And the rest of these movies, the rest of these movies I've never seen. I had already seen parts of this movie. I had seen parts of Deep Red. Yeah, the rest of the movies I'm pretty unfamiliar with, so that'd be cool. All right, it's 9 o'clock. Oh, I can't wait to watch Blood and Black Lace. I'm so excited. Okay, well, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I don't think there's anything else. Follow me on the internet. Check out the Patreon. That's it. Have a nice scream, y'all. It's been a good night. Happy Tuesday. Bye.